Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching me from. This here remains a diary of a broken man where we discuss the social, political, and economic issues bothering the country, Nigeria. Today, we touch on the topic, the colonial legacy in Nigeria, particularly the British system of indirect rule, and its profound effect on Nigeria as a country. So, we all remember that the British, by 1914, employed the system of rulership called the indirect rule. And within the indirect rule, it simply means using the existing traditional rulers, the people on ground, using them, existing local leaders, particularly in the north, because the indirect rule couldn't work in the eastern part of Nigeria, but it did work in the north, where emirs were used as intermediaries, and this impacted Nigeria's growth as a country. In fact, the first impact is on the governance of Nigeria. While indirect rule was supposed to maintain local autonomy, for instance, it often centralized power in the hands of the colonial administrators, setting a precedent for future centralized governance structure in Nigeria. And then it created ethnic and regional divisions. The system reinforced ethnic and regional identities as it privileged traditional rulers, thus deepening ethnic cleavages. This has led to ongoing ethnic, diversity, ethnic tensions in Nigeria. This indirect rule, started by Lord Lugard, and then it created administrative inefficiency. The indirect rule created a dichotomy between traditional and modern governance, leading to inefficiencies and corruption, as traditional rulers sometimes lack the administrative skills for modern governance. And everybody is asserting himself as if they know something about the government and the modern system of government, whereas most of them, what they do is trying to take Nigeria back to 1914 by the way they live, by the way they carry themselves, by the kind of system they bring in, the kind of ideas they bring in, backward and outdated ideas. And then what legacy did it create? Post-independence, this system left Nigeria with a governance structure where central control over vast regions was the norm, influencing how regional and local governments operate today. So whether you like it or not, we are still living, at the mercy of the 1914 mistake, because it's the mistake of 1914 is a very serious one that should never have happened. But we allowed it to happen, and it's ruining a lot of things for us. Now, the next thing we'll talk about is federalism and the centralized power debates. Federalism in Nigeria. Nigeria adopted a federal system, after our independence in 1960, which was influenced by its diverse ethnic makeup. We have more than 250 ethnic groups, with the major ones as Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. And after the independence, there was no other way to, bring unity in this diversity apart from federal system of government. It was seen as a way to manage diversity anyway. But it left us with a problem: resource control, and then centralization versus autonomy issues, revenue sharing. So when we talk about resource control, there's this considerable debate over resource allocation, quota system. Where people who do not merit a certain amount of resource are given, and then because of quota system. So example, this oil-rich Niger Delta, oil-rich regions are still arguing for greater control over their resources, reflecting a push for more decentralized federalism. We shall talk about decentralization later in the future. So another one is revenue sharing. The system of sharing national revenue, derived largely from oil anyway, has been contentious, with accusation that it favors the federal government over states, particularly those not endowed with oil. Because how can you get oil from from somewhere and then take the proceeds of the oil and be feeding some other people who are not even ready to, and some of them have their own natural resources which they, from the back, they drill gold, diamond and sell from the back. Even Nigeria doesn't get the proceeds, but they will get the proceeds from people who have oil, which is, it's painful. It's painful to say but the least. So that accusation still stands. And what implication does it have? The debate affects everything from fiscal federalism to state creation, highlighting the tension between maintaining national unity and respecting regional diversity. So, what is the call today? The call today is for restructuring. Calls for restructuring arise from dissatisfaction with the current federal system, which many argue does not adequately address Nigeria's ethnic, cultural, and economic diversity. What restructuring entails. Okay, so when we say restructuring, what does it really mean for us? It means devolution of power. These advocates seek more power to the states or regions, reducing. That's why I've been talking about regionalism, because when we restructure, we take away power from the center and give it to the regions. And then with these regions controlling their resources, they grow at their own pace and pay taxes to the center. Center becomes ceremonial. Where the only thing that holds us together becomes the center. And that's what I advocate for as a person. It reduces central government's dominance in areas like education, like healthcare, like policing. The central government is not working for Nigeria, not addressing our issues. Insecurity is, leaping into the very core of the country. Every state is suffering insecurity, and the central government seems not to know how to manage it. The best way to manage it is to give it to the states or to the regions. They manage themselves, develop their minerals. You will see because prior to the time to the military regimes, when we had this regional system of government, the amount of development, Michael Obala was doing miracles in the eastern region. S.L. Akintola was doing his. Tafawa Balewa was doing his own wonders in the northern region. And all of a sudden, we abandoned this thing and went to federal system of government where everything is just, everybody's just collecting their own money. It's called national cake, isn't it? So everybody's taking his own share. Sending their children abroad, forgetting the development of the country. And we are suffering it. That's why our children are dying in the desert, because they want to leave Nigeria to a greener pasture. When Nigeria is a greener pasture promised, the land flowing with milk and honey. The amount of natural resources in Nigeria, and we are leaving from Nigeria to go to countries that we are better than, just because we have a bad system of government. And then, coupled with the bad system of government, we have the worst set of leaders. Okay, so and then fiscal federalism. Proposal often includes change in how revenue is managed, advocating for states to have more control over their resources. You look at America and see how they are developing. Texas is one of the richest countries in the world, states in the world, even richer than many countries. Just a state. But it has the control over her resources, over everything, and you see the growth, you see the development. If we can do that in Nigeria, that will be our saving grace. And then constitutional reform. The 1999 constitution as amended is the worst constitution I've ever seen. Empowering every kind of illegality, every kind of evil in this society. It empowers it. How do we get past it? We do constitutional reform. We do constitutional reform. Either we take true federalism, or we take to confederation. Each region develops at their own pace, and so we get back to our feet. So challenges, the lack of consensus on what restructuring should look like, coupled with political, ethnic, and economic considerations, make implementation a bit difficult. Because remember the problem of since 2023, the amount of bigotry and the ethnic diversity that was enlivened, made so many things impossible. We cannot really come together to accept a particular, this is what we want, this is how we want to do it. It's a big problem anyway. So there is also the risk of exacerbating existing tensions if not managed carefully. If we jump into, we may have problem. There may be war. So we need to be careful how we do these things. In conclusion, the colonial legacy, particularly through indirect rule, has shaped Nigerians' governance in ways that continue to influence debates about federalism and drive calls for restructuring. These issues are central to understanding Nigeria's political landscape and its efforts towards crafting a governance model that accommodates its diverse population while ensuring national cohesion. In all, what we just need is a nation where everybody benefits from the nation. Nobody complains in a nation where their rights are respected, where their resources are adequately managed. Nobody complains in that kind of society. People complain when they see a brazen corruption in the system. That is when people complain. Nations like Singapore, nations like Finland, where their government manage their resources properly, you see there are free education. Finland is regarded as the happiest country in the world, simply because of good governance. And we can do better. Let me know in the comment section what you think we can do, to get our country back on track. Whether we still continue the federalism or we go back to regional system of government or confederation. Let me know in the comment section. Remember to subscribe, share, comment and like, and follow me if you are watching from Facebook. See you on the next one. Cheers.